Hey everybody, this is Kurt Conrad, and this is West 4th and Goal, North Central Ohio's only, I believe, podcast devoted exclusively to high school football. We are at the IdeaWorks podcast studio on West 4th Street, and I'm joined again by my co-host Noah Jones and Zach Heiser. And Zach, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on at IdeaWorks here in the next couple days here, huh?
Oh yeah, super exciting news if you haven't heard. Mansfield, Ohio will be hosting its first ever startup weekend.
Tell me more, Zach.
I will, Noah. That's September 28th, 29th, and 30th right here at IdeaWorks. And if you're unfamiliar with what Startup Weekend is, like I'm sure Noah has no clue.
No idea.
So it started back in 2007 and is grown into an organization with a global presence. It's reached over 100 countries. So definitely an exciting opportunity for people in North Central Ohio. It's going to be right here in Mansfield at IdeaWorks. Definitely consider attending if you have an idea to pursue, a problem to solve, or if you're looking for a unique and fun networking opportunity. There's no need to bring an idea to pitch or come with a team. You can simply register as an individual and take giant leaps towards creating a business, becoming a founder, and learning a new way of thinking. The lineup of keynotes is very impressive. It includes Dan Mangus, a 2003 Lex grad who co-founded Root Insurance, which was recently valued at $1 billion. Marquise Stillwell, a CEO of Open Box Design Studio. Fallon Donahue of Venture, Ohio. And Matt Armstead of FinTech 71. They're all confirmed for the weekend. Tickets are only around $50 and include 7 full meals over the weekend, one-on-one time with these amazing keynotes, mentors, and judges, and all the internet and coffee you can consume.
I'm in.
So if you're looking at how do I sign up, just search Startup Weekend Mansfield on Facebook. Click the Techstars Startup Weekend Mansfield event to learn more and buy your ticket.
Yeah, it sounds like I apologize. It sounds like a really neat opportunity for entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Yeah, and not just entrepreneurs either. I mean, if you're an artist, if you work with a local chamber, if you're a university student, if you work with a nonprofit, it's a great opportunity. Again, anyone with an idea that just wants to learn more about networking, collaborating, working with a team, having fun over the weekend, it's a great opportunity.
What weekend is it? I'm sorry.
Again, yeah, it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, September 28th, 29th, and 30th.
It's right here at IdeaWorks, right?
Right here at IdeaWorks.
40 West 4th Street.
Yep. Search Startup Weekend Mansfield on Facebook to learn more. I definitely plan on being there, and I encourage you to consider getting a ticket. It's going to be a good time.
We are joined this week by Mansfield senior junior Clay Caudill, and Clay, thanks for coming down and taking some time here to be with us.
Thanks for having me, Kurt.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a funny story, you guys. I'll tell you guys. That's the first time I met Clay. It was the summer of 2016, and I was covering a 7-on-7 scrimmage over at Madison, and a big skinny kid walked up to me and said, "Hello, I would like to introduce myself. My name's Clay Caudill, and I just got my first scholarship offer." And Clay had never played a down high school football. He was a 14-year-old freshman. And I remember thinking to myself, how in the world, and it's a question I would love to ask a recruiting coordinator, how do you make that decision when you never seen any film on a guy except for when he was playing in junior high? But I talked to Chioke this summer. He said you got a real good camp, that summer, and you performed really well down there. How did that whole situation play out? I mean, what transpired down there?
Well, it was actually my first camp ever. I mean, which the first one we went to Springfield, and it was a satellite camp for Michigan actually, right, originally. But there was a lot of different schools there, and I came and I was hungry, and as soon as I got out of the car, I was just ready to work, and I was like looking at it as just an opportunity to kind of get my foot in the door for the first time and show what I have and show who I am as a football player, So, just every drill I did it 100 miles an hour, right. One-on-ones, just tried to beat everybody, just come in with a lot of intensity, show really good technique. My brother actually won the quarterback challenge that day,
right on.
And then I did really good in the one-on-ones and won the the race between the defensive linemen. So it was a really good day, and I feel like I showed well, and they thought the same.
I was going to say, evidently they liked what they saw too. What's it?
Right.
I mean, what's it like when you're that young, you're at your first camp, and a guy comes up to you and says, "We'd like you to play football at the University of Kentucky."
Yeah, it's definitely surreal and really just exciting because you work so long and you work so hard, and it all comes up to moments like that in life where you're like, hey, my hard work paid off, right. And you just feel blessed by God and say, here's the moment, we gotta seize the moment and don't squander it,
Right.
And when I first talked to him and he said, hey, I think you are a Division I football player, and I just lit up and I'm like, hey, this is it, this is the start of a journey, so you got to finish the journey.
Does it relieve some pressure knowing that an SEC school is interested in you and that you're able to sort of understand that you are good enough and that you can keep pressing as opposed to not getting an offer right away until your senior year, like some high school athletes?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't say it does release any pressure. I would say more that it gives you confidence, because you should never be satisfied. Even I don't care if you're the number one player in the world. You should never be satisfied. And I know I still to this day have so much to prove to those guys, to those big time programs, and it's just an ever going journey that you have to embark on, and you can never stop. You can never be satisfied. So you can never feel a sense of comfort like, oh, I'm there. You have to always push to be better, work harder, do things, do the little things, because in the long run, the little things is what adds up to everything. So
that's why I'm on this side of the mic and you're in the jersey, because the SEC offers me a contract or an offer, and I am taking it, and I'm going home and learning Madden.
Yeah, that's not a bad plan either.
So you're up to 10 now, is that right? 10 offers?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 10, yeah.
Who else? I know Wisconsin's on that list. Michigan State was recent. Rutgers, Maryland, Cincinnati. Are there any favorites yet, or are you still weighing your options, I guess?
Yeah, I'm kind of.
If you want to make any bold announcents here today, that'd be just fine.
We would not be upset.
I think I'll hold off on that. But I'm kind of different than a lot of recruits in that sense that I don't really like to tip my hat, to any school, only because I still myself have a lot to prove, and they still, I still have a lot to learn about them as schools and as programs. It's just like I said, it's a journey, and making that choice is a huge choice. So I mean, I do have some schools that I have great connections with. Michigan State, I have a great relationship with Mike Tressel up there. Out in West Virginia, Coach Gerberry, he's spent a lot of time with me, and I really appreciate that. He's been great. It's like at the end of the day, when you go there, a lot of the things in those schools are going to be the same. But for me, it's going to be about people, because every program that they're going to have the same layout. It's going to be a lot of the same stuff. But at the end of the day, the people is what's going to make my decision, and how they treat me, and how I treat them.
Yeah, I was curious. You talk about the decision factors, and I know it's still a little bit early, but how much of it is football related? Obviously, a lot of it is, but how much of it is what other factors do you consider? Campus life, location?
Yeah,
academia.
Yeah,
parents are listening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last week when we talked to Kate Stover, I mean, he was looking for a place. He wants to be a farmer, and he was looking for a school that had ag business as a major. So I mean, there's a whole different set of factors you got to weigh in there.
Right. Yeah. For me, as far as that, they always ask you, what do you want to major in? What do you want to do? And I haven't really found that major yet, but all I know is whatever I do, when I do make that decision, I want to do something that's going to change someone's life, and that's what I want to do for my career. So I will find that. But for the schools, as you asked, what do I look at? Really, if one school is a better academic school than the other, that's great. That's something that I'll add to the list. but it's not going to be all about that. Like I said, I'm going to look at the overall all around feel of the university, how I feel when I step on campus. You know what I mean? You could say one school is better than one thing at the other and vice versa, but how you feel when you step on campus and when you meet the people there, that's the big thing. Meeting the people there, you'll know right away that it's the right choice.
Right. You got to go down to Ohio State and work out this summer.
Yeah.
And I told this story last week, but I mean it's a different world from what goes on outside at the training center and what happens indoors. I mean, you were a guy who got invited indoors, and you were working out on both sides of the ball, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be kind of exciting to go down to one of the premier football programs in the country, and they think so much of you that they don't know what to do with you, I guess.
Definitely. I mean, it's definitely a whole different world inside of that indoor facility. It's those coaches keep it real because they're recruiting they're trying to get the cream of the crop, the best guys in the nation. So if you're not performing, then they'll tell you to get out because you're just taking up space for the other guys. So you really have to put on the line and leave it all out there, because sometimes in life you only get one chance to do things. So you better make that chance worth it. And as you said, going on both sides of the ball, that's something that I really pride myself in as a football player, is just being versatile, being able to do whatever a coach wants me to do. I grew up being taught you say yes sir, no sir. You got to have that kind of attitude, and you got to be able to do a lot of different things to help your team. And I feel like all the football I've played and stuff, and all the work I've put in and developed different skill sets, that's given me that diverse skill set to where I can play many different positions, and that's going to help me a lot in the long run.
Right. I think last year I remember watching you play, and you were a tight end sometimes, and then they had you in the backfield as an H-back, I guess, or a fullback, and then on defense you played end and tackle and linebacker. I mean, do you have a favorite position? I mean, what do you like to do best?
I get that asked so much. And funny story, when I first showed up at Michigan State, as soon as I got out of the car and walked in, before they even asked me, how was the trip, how you doing, you need anything, the first thing they asked me right when I walked in the door was, so Clay, what position do you want to play? And it's like I tell them, I'll know when the time is right, and I'll know when you guys, think it's right. And personally, I grew up, I love to hit people, and that's defense has been, my favorite thing throughout the years. And to me, it's more fun.
Right.
You get to pin your ears back and have free will. But tight end, I think could be a great. I do a lot of different things well there too. So that's kind of a question mark right now. But definitely, I think defensive end is where I feel most comfortable and most natural. So I think if I had to say one right now, I'd probably end up being a defensive end.
Right on.
What feels better, putting a huge tackle on somebody, a big hit on defense, or catching the ball on offense and trucking someone over?
They both feel great, man. I just think whatever shows that you are a relentless, hard-nosed player, that's what feels the different. That's what feels the best. Going out there, helping your team, making a huge play. So maybe if we got them, if they're driving and they're on like our 3-yard line and it's 3rd and short or something, and I get a sack, then that's going to feel better than trucking somebody. But if we need a touchdown and there's 5 seconds left and I catch the ball, run someone over for a touchdown, that's going to feel better. So it's all it's all surreal. It all feels great. But
so you're in a class that was one of the most heralded classes, I guess, in Mansfield Senior in a while. So I've been doing it for 20 years, and that team with Jalen Reese and Czech Washington in 2013, that was a great class.
Absolutely.
But this class, you guys, there was a bunch of you guys who came in 2 or 3 years ago now and started as freshmen, and that just doesn't happen here. And you guys won all through junior high school together. Did you know that you guys were all going to come in and contribute right away, or did you expect to?
I think it kind of, came to a little bit of a surprise for us,
Right.
but that's one of the things that has helped me tremendously, being in that class alone.
Right.
In 8th grade, like just practicing, I came from Ontario.
Right.
And when I come over and we have conditioning and practice, I instantly see it, just a difference in the athletes, and that's no knock on Ontario because
Right.
they're great kids, and I love my time that I had there, but that's the one thing that I could notice as soon as I came, and especially with my class, I'm
Right.
like, God, maybe I'm a D1 athlete, but I'm surrounded by a few D1 athletes, and that pushes you to be better. And you guys, we feed off of each other, and we just elevate to a level where we're all, being elite, and that's been detrimental.
Right.
Yeah.
So as a freshman, you play with one of the best running backs in Mansfield senior history, in Brian Benson, who's at Findlay now. And then as a sophomore, you have Jornell Mans, who's a big time D1 guy. I mean, when you're a younger guy looking at those guys, are there things you learn from them? I mean, how to work. I mean, I remember Brian Benson, and I've said for a long time, I've never seen a kid work harder at Mansfield Senior. I mean, he was one of the best athletes on the field, and he was always first in line, and he was always running everywhere, and it just blew me away with his work ethic. I mean, I would imagine you pick up stuff like that from those guys.
Oh, you definitely you hit the nail right in the head. Playing with Brian Benson is one of the most memorable things of my football career so far. He was really a workaholic,
Right.
and he was a horse, man. And I learned he kind of, I do want to say, he inspired me.
Right.
Just seeing the way he worked, the way he pushed his teammates, the way he went at football with blood in his eyes. And I learned so much from him. We'd have a 3-hour practice and have to do all this conditioning and stuff, and he'd be out there running with the sled and in the weight room lifting weights and stuff. And he really showed me what it takes to be great. And Jornell, he definitely showed me what the standard of what it takes to be a Big Ten football player.
Right.
Jornell, he's a gifted athlete. He is a freak, and it kind of shows you if you want to be at this level, you got to play. You got to make those types of plays.
Right.
So that both that pushes you a lot.
So I think 6-4 as a freshman, which I mean for a lot of people that's pretty awesome when you're starting a bunch of freshmen. You go 6-4. I would imagine for you guys though, you were used to winning.
That's not good for us.
Right,
That's not good for us.
That's probably disappointing for you guys.
It was, man. And I just feel bad, for those seniors. They've the hardest working, class is just, and all in all, they took some great things from that season and learned in life. You can't hang your head down. You gotta prevail through stuff in life. You can never, sit down. You gotta get up. But I really think that we kind of use that as motivation and said, hey, we can't let that happen anymore. Yeah. We can't screw around in practice. We can't shortcut things. We can't do the bare minimum, because if we do that, we're going to get bare minimum results. And then coming last year, and we busted our tails all year in conditioning. Grind. It was a grind, man,
Right.
and we wanted it. We saw a vision and we wanted it, and we ended up going 8-2 with a playoff appearance, and that wasn't bad, but we would have liked to have more, and that kind of definitely boost our morale a little bit, and now we're just trying to feed off of that and going forward now.
Right. And we touched on it just briefly in kind of passing, but I mean, this is the first year that the guy throwing you the football wasn't living under the same roof with you. I mean,
you're right.
Sid Caudill was the quarterback the last 2 years, and obviously your older brother. And what's it like not having Sid around? I mean, it's probably kind of a little different.
Oh, it's definitely different. It's a whole new world, but you got to be an adapter. You know what I mean? You have to. You can't be like, oh, well, things have changed, so now I'm going to change. No, you got to change with it. So Angelo, he's a little shorter.
Right.
He's not the pocket passer that Sid was.
Right.
But he's a true dual threat guy, and he can do things better that Sid couldn't do, and Sid could do things better that Angelo can't do.
Sure.
I know Angelo likes to throw to the tight ends. Big targets.
Right.
They're easy to find. And that's still a work in progress, but it's different, but it's good, and we're finding new ways to make things work in the offense. So,
it can be more fun to watch like a Cam Newton as opposed to Peyton Manning when it comes to dual threat stuff. Is it more fun to be on a team with a dual threat, or is it sort of scary because you're worried they might get hit hard or something like that? Or is it just an adjustment that you have to sort of get used to?
Honestly, a little mix of both.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a little bit less consistent, but at the same time, there's more of a chance of breaking a huge explosive play.
Right.
And I don't know, which one you'd rather have, but it's definitely it's definitely fun having them back there. At times, everybody gets their block 11 on 11, and you see what it does. You know what I mean? If one guy misses their block, even out there at the receivers and stuff, then it might, it's gonna stop. And if we all do our job, then it's gonna break. And sometimes you watch those guys running back there, and they can make all the moves they want, but if we don't block, then it's not gonna be successful.
It's also kind of cool, especially like maybe during football season, or sorry, playoff season, when maybe you're not running the same plays, because if your quarterback gets to run, it might be the same number that you call, but it may be a little different because he's getting to sort of read the defense and adjust to where he wants to run, as opposed to maybe always throwing it to the middle for a quarterback who's a pocket passer.
Absolutely. Yeah, in the playoffs, this is a well-known thing. A lot of the better running teams tend to make it farther in the playoffs because the weather changes, things change, sure. You get adversity, and I think that's something good that we have this year. Is we do have we got some great blocking packages, right. And we have a lot of different schemes for the running game, and we're dealing with some we do have some adversity on our team right now, that we are going to overcome, but
like what?
Well, for instance, I mean, we have a few injuries and stuff that maybe not season enders, but temporarily. I mean, I'm sure everyone's kind of wondering what happened to Trayshawn Wyndham. I mean, I'm sure everyone's wondering that, but he's just having some problems with his knee right now, and we're getting it figured out. And some different things. We're a family. Things go on in the family that we don't. And we're gonna overcome it though, and that's just it's just fuel for the fire. That's football. That's life. Adversity. And
I would imagine there's some fuel. You guys got some fuel last weekend. I mean, a lot of high expectations coming in. You guys went to Norwalk and things got sideways on you in a hurry. I think you fell behind 35-0. Ended up being 42-21. But I mean, given the expectations that this group has, I mean that's got to be kind of an eye opener, I would imagine.
Ever since the second half of that game, we're a different team. We won the second half, but that's not good enough. We got to win the whole game. Right. And we came out and didn't do any of the things that we said we were going to do, and didn't play to our full potential. You know what I mean? It's a whole team. There's no, especially in this game, no one. You can't point the finger at anyone. It was the whole team. But ever since that second half, we are a different team, and we were a lot, we were a little down, but we said, hey, we got to bury that, and we got to go on, and we have to use that as motivation, sure. And learn from it. Just that's life. You got to learn from your mistakes, and that's what we're gonna do.
Looking at the stats of the game, scoring at least, you guys did end up winning the second half. What's the conversation that you have in the locker room? Was it just you guys got sort of punched in the mouth and couldn't quite get back up in the first half, or like what adjustments do you guys have to make as a team to be able to come back in the second half like that?
It's sometimes it's not all schemes. Sometimes it's not all a scheme thing. Sometimes it's just guys getting beat, and that's the thing. We literally just had to pull our heads out and just start winning, start being men and playing Tyger football. Tyger football is fast, physical, intense football, and if we don't do that, that's what we do. That's what we pride ourselves on, and if we don't do that, we're not going to be successful. So some things we did try to change some things X's and O's wise, but it for the most part we just had to come out and play harder and just have more confidence. I think sometimes you get down and it's just a blow to your heart, and you start to lose confidence, and you can't do that. Right. You got to know that doesn't define us as a team. You know what I mean?
And it's disappointing as that is. I mean, you guys were a playoff team last year, and you had 2 losses. I mean, even sure everyone wants to come out and be 1-0, but there's still a whole lot of things to play for you guys, and I would imagine that's probably one of the messages here this week.
Oh yeah, yeah. Still the whole season ahead of us. You know what I mean? And I think every great team has a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can look at the Ohio State season when they won the national championship. They lost their opener to Virginia Tech. I mean, the whole country was shocked at that. I mean, everyone's shocked that Norwalk beat us. We're going to come back and we're going to do what we do, and that's what championship teams do. Each week, we're going to get better. We're going to learn from our mistakes, make new mistakes. We can't make the same mistakes.
Right.
And we will just, as a team, push through.
So you got, you're in the season and stuff like that, but this is a big time for recruits too, and that you're probably getting invited for official visits or unofficial visits. Do you have anything lined up for Saturdays this fall? Or are you going to see anyone play? Or?
Yeah, I will make it to some games. I'll worry about that when when Friday is over and I got the dub. The team comes first, and then me and the recruiting, but yeah, I definitely have some sweet games lined up. Should be exciting. Talk to those coaches again and everything. It'll be great.
Now you when we had Cade Stover in here last week, he made kind of a neat video to announce what school he was going to. I don't know if you saw it or not, but he's a farmer, so it had like a farm theme to it. Do you have anything special planned? Are you gonna do anything special when that time comes, or how are you gonna do it?
I've been thinking about that a little bit, and I don't. It's too early to say.
That's just the world that these guys live in now, though. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. High school kids like a lot of high school kids seem to be not on social media as much as
as when it
in
first
their 20s and 30s.
Yeah, I mean, they this generation's addicted to technology, so I wouldn't even say that.
Guilty.
It's definitely. But I'm not so much into that. Like, I mean, I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and everything else, but I don't spend that much time on them. And I'll probably make a post when I commit.
Nah, man, you gotta ask Richland Source to make it for you.
I'll do
the deal.
That's
We'll
the
come
plan.
down here
Is that
and
the plan?
Put it together, yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Come back on the
Is that it?
podcast and
All
announce
right.
it here.
All right.
I guarantee you that we will do it at that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We'll set it up then. We'll do it.
Absolutely.
And then probably just like figure out whatever the team's like symbol is, like with their hands or whatever, and then like whenever I make a play, I'll like flash that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The RS.
Yeah, like say if I commit to Ohio State, when I make a play, I'll do the OH. You know what I mean?
on.
Or if I commit, Wisconsin, I'll do the W or
Yeah.
just whatever.
Or
the
RS for
Right.
Richland Source.
Right? Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
Richland Source
Yeah.
University.
Well, actually, Kurt, give me a second. So we did talk a little bit about this with Cade last week, but I was hoping that I could just ask you. So I mean, it sounds like you're not too involved with social media. It sounds like I personally don't follow you, but I will after we're done. I promise. But there were recently a couple of Major League Baseball scandals, if you will, of like people who have made mistakes with language, sort of racist or homophobic conversations that they tweeted when they were in like high school, so your age. How does that knowledge, or how does knowing of those people making those mistakes, how does that sort of shape you as a public figure now, like that you have to be so careful?
Definitely, takes a part in my, mentality about that kind of things. But what you got to understand is everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to voice that opinion, though. And this is America. We do have freedom of speech, and you can say whatever you want, but you got to know people aren't always going to agree with that.
Right.
And that's life. And you can't. I do think now. Everyone's always trying to be politically, correct and stuff, and instead of just speaking the truth. But even sometimes just not saying anything is saying the best thing. And I just think using your actions is speaks way like louder than words. And you don't want to make a fool of yourself, saying something that you think that maybe someone else doesn't agree, and then you get sucked down into a bad situation. Right. That's a situation you don't want to be in. So I think just keeping your thoughts and your comments, to yourself and letting things unravel the way they should is best.
It would be so hard, especially for me. I love sharing a good political post on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, if it's right, if you stand for it, then do it. But you got to know the consequences.
I
Yeah.
looked you up on Twitter
Yeah.
though. You seem to be good. You only get about 5 tweets.
Yeah, exactly right.
As long as you keep
I
it
don't,
cool from here on
dude.
out.
I'm a dinosaur, man. It's crazy.
Well, good. Can you stick around for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
We're going to
Yeah,
take
for
a
sure.
quick break, and we're going to rehash some games from last week, and then we'll talk about some games going forward. Maybe get some thoughts on the Sandusky Perkins Pirates, senior high's next opponents. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to West 4th and Goal, the North Central Ohio's only high school football podcast, and we're joined by Clay Caudill, who took some time to rejoin us after the break, and we certainly appreciate that. We're just going to rehash some of the games that we covered last week and talk a little bit about what's coming up this week. And before we go any further, we should probably talk a little bit about at Richland Source what we were able to do last weekend, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible achievement by some of our people, by our newsroom, Evan Ryan. So we pretty much essentially last week became the leading high school football source in probably
I
the
would
state
say,
of Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, we covered 9. I mean, I'm going to let you finish, but
No,
we
that's
covered
okay.
90 football
Was it 90?
games. And really, just thanks to artificial intelligence, it took 5 seconds for the scores to come in. It was unbelievable. It was a really fun night. We were all super pumped about it, and the results were, all accurate, which is just crazy to me, especially because when I was in college, the idea of having artificial intelligence in journalism meant we were all sort of afraid it meant that it was the end of human beings being reporters. But it really just means that now we get to write the fun stuff with emotion.
Yeah, not the case at all. I mean, we've got some proprietary AI stuff we've been working on all summer. The sports department here has been working hard on it, and our people have still went out and covered feature stories, full photo galleries, feature stories for the local games of the week. And then with the AI technology, we were able to put over 90 game summaries up. And we will be doing that again this week if you're listening to this before week 2 of the high school football season.
I don't want to speak for the department because I'm not the editor, but the editorial department. But I think we may be doing more than 90 this year, or this month, or this upcoming week. There may be more schools involved.
There may be more. You're going to have to find out. Go to richlandsource.com/sports/football.
And if I'm not mistaken, and you guys can jump in here because I'm kind of the dinosaur of the bunch here, and I don't really know a lot about AI. But I mean, the more this goes on, the better it's going to get it. The better our artificial intelligence gets, right? I mean,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
All right. Well, very cool. Well, yeah. Let's on that note, we'll run over we'll kind of recap last weekend, and we'll start close to home. And we mentioned it earlier: Norwalk 42 and Mansfield Senior 21. Things didn't go well for the Tigers on opening night. Norwalk had a running back, Trayvon Raymore, who rushed for 249 yards, and I would imagine that's without giving away too many secrets this week, Clay. I would imagine you guys are gonna button up that run defense a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yep. You'll see.
How about Noah? Where were you last week, and what went down?
I'm embarrassed to say that I'm currently looking up the final score, but I was at Galleon covering the Galleon-Bucyrus game.
Right, and Galleon put one on them, didn't they?
Yeah, from the very get-go, it was a pretty impressive offense run. They started off the game with back-to-back touchdown drives, and then things just didn't really go well for Bucyrus. I think they're sort of a long way away from being uber competitive, unfortunately. But I think that overall it was really impressive the first half. Elias Middleton threw for 131 first half yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, and they were at 20. It was 20-0 at the beginning of the half, which meant that they only needed to score 10 more points for the game to have the running clock, and that's my favorite part of covering football.
Before we even got to Friday, the season started on Thursday last week, and I was at Skiles Field in Shelby, and Shelby they were a team that they were state semifinal team last year in Division 4, and it didn't look like they lost a lot. I mean, they looked pretty darn good. It was 48-8. They beat Madison, and a quarterback who replaced a Division 1 quarterback in Brennan Armstrong. Kid's name's McGuire Albert, and he came in and they didn't miss a beat. Owen Fisher replaced a
He's
really
exciting.
good running back. Yeah, McGuire's
He's exciting.
He's a big, tall kid. He's kind of more of a pocket passer, I think, than what Brennan was. But I mean, they're gonna do some things this season. I think anyone who thought maybe that Shelby would be falling off, they can think that at their own peril, I guess.
Yeah.
And Clay, you know a little bit about this one. You were telling us off air that the quarterback down there is your cousin, but Lucas beat Danville for the first time since 1991. And is it Logan Nicewander?
Yeah.
He's
my he's my cousin.
Do you get a chance to talk to him much? I mean, you guys talk during the season?
Yeah, we talk more when we just see each other at our grandma's. And
You guys ever just like pass the football?
yeah, all the time. I mean, we grew up together and we used to like be best friends when we were little.
Right.
But we are both really busy, but we still have a really good connection and stuff, and we're friends.
They got a good thing going down there too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably exciting to see. I mean, they go to the playoffs just about every year.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's good.
It's
Yeah.
a pretty neat thing.
Yep.
Yeah, they're really
It's
fun
really
to watch.
cool.
I covered them most of the season after like week 4.
Right.
Yeah.
They're a ton of fun to watch, and it's so funny. We talked about this last week. They run almost the exact same play every down.
Yeah.
Hey, why change it? Why have
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And there's
Yeah.
no, I mean, and Scott Spittler, the coach, has told me that. It's like, well, it's not a government secret they're keeping there. They they know what they're going to do. Their opponent knows what they're going to do, and it's, go ahead and stop us if you
Yeah,
can.
right.
And more often than not, the opponents have been unable to do that. And that's a huge win for Lucas. I mean, that's a team that Danville is a perennial playoff qualifier in Division 7, and to beat them, I mean, to finally get over that hump for the first time since 30 years almost. I mean, that's got to do a world of good for those kids. Sticking to some small school stuff, on Friday I went and did a Ashland County game. Hillsdale played at Mapleton. Full disclosure, I'm a Hillsdale graduate, so it's kind of neat to go. And my nephew is the quarterback, so it's kind of neat to go over there. But Hillsdale, it got one-sided in a hurry. The Falcons were a regional finalist last year, and there's a lot of talent back over there this year. Alex Becker, the quarterback, ran for 4 touchdowns, threw for 2. They had a running back, Garrett Smith, who ran for 2, and it's going to be a good season for Hillsdale, I think. And going forward here, I got them again this week, and they're going to play Crestview, another double Ashland County game, and that's a Crestview team that had its hands full with Loudonville last week. They won 29-26, but I expect that to be a pretty exciting game. Noah, you got the weekend off, is that right?
I do. I get to go and spend a long weekend in Cincinnati with my mother. I'm pretty excited. I don't know how it happened. And Zach's taking photos
I
somewhere.
guess I'm filling in for you.
Good for you,
Yeah,
man.
thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
Who are you shooting, Zach?
I'll be in Ashland on Friday.
Oh, for Ashland High School. And they
You got Clyde?
I believe so, and they won a close game last week too, and
They did. That was a good game.
they had a quarterback. I mean, they replaced a quarterback over there. It seems like every year, and every year a new guy steps in and throws for 3,000 yards. It seems like, and this guy Mitch Heilman, he put up huge numbers last week. And Clay, you can talk to that. You've seen him. I mean, how is it year after year that they come up with a quarterback over there? Do you think that I mean, the last couple of years it's been Keegan Armitage, and before that it was Grant Denbo, who was I think he's a cornerback now at Ashland University.
Yeah. I think my opinion on that is I think they know Ashland is a spread passing team.
Right.
So I think the kids grow up learning that, and they already have a kid brung up, who they know is going to have to be a passer, is going to have to be a polished quarterback. So like they it's kind of like looking through the crystal ball,
Right.
and they're saying who's going to be our next
Who's our next guy?
who's going to be our next guy.
Got a good farm system.
Right. So yeah, exactly. So they have to develop that guy into that. Yeah.
Another interesting game, and I'm not sure what our coverage situation is like, but Clear Fork is at Bellevue. Clear Fork beat Bellevue in the regular season last year on the way to a undefeated season, the first time that's happened down there in a long time. And then Bellevue beat Clear Fork in the second round of the playoffs. I mean, that's
That was a pretty upsetting loss for them, wasn't it? I mean, I know that Bellevue is always pretty good. But
Bellevue, yeah, and I mean,
that's what I said.
Did you? It sounded like Belleville. And
I
some
have gotten
there.
really good at combining the two so that no one can correct me anymore.
But I mean, the regular season game went to overtime, and the regional semifinal game was a one-score game. So I mean, they were both competitive games. I mean, and that's kind of developed into a rivalry that maybe not a lot of people saw coming. But those two teams that are in Division 4 in the same region, I mean, there's going to be an awful lot of playoff points available. And I mean, Clear Fork hung it on Fredericktown last week. I think it was 62 or something like that.
63-0.
Right. And Bellevue lost to Canton Central Catholic. And, like when we were talking to Clay, I mean, it's not the end of the world if you're 0-1. If you're 0-2, there's a little bit of pressure all of a sudden. So that's a huge game.
Yeah.
I mean,
1-1 feels a lot better than 0-2.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot better.
Well, good. I think
Shelby Lex.
Oh yeah, we almost skipped over that one. And Lex, they're coming off a heartbreaker. I mean, that's a rough way to go. I mean, defensively they played well enough to win, which I mean that doesn't come as a great surprise to me when you have a guy who's going to go play at Ohio State who makes every tackle. It seems like Kate Stover does. And I was listening to the radio on the way back to the office last Friday, and that's what the guys on the radio were saying. Aaron Hines is saying, Kate Stover's in on every tackle. I mean, they can't get him blocked. He's just everywhere. So defensively, I think they're going to be good. But it's that would be a bitter pill to swallow 2 years in a row that they were. I mean, both those games, the last 2 years, Ontario's won them both, and they were both. I think last year was a 1-point game, and this year it's a 1-score game, and the game-winning touchdown got scored in the final minute. And Lex is, they're going to have their hands full. You got to play a Shelby team that's riding high right now. So. And Ontario, I guess, has a game against Highland, and Highland is in that region too. I mean, it's all those schools: Shelby, Clear Fork, Ontario, Highland is in there too. They're Division 4 region. I'm not sure what it is, 14 maybe, but those are all teams that were, challenging for playoffs last year. So those are games you almost, you hate to say it's a must-win game, but I mean, if Ontario is, seriously thinking that this is a team that can get to the playoffs, these are games they have to win.
Yeah, and then Lucas has got another Knox County team this week. I'm sure our Knox Pages reporter Grant Pepper will be all over that.
Yeah, he'll be making a second trip to Bobwine Field.
Right, like he was in week 1, and it's at Grant Pepper on Twitter if you guys want to follow him. He does a killer job on Friday nights.
Well, good. I think that's just about going to wrap it up. Clay, we certainly appreciate you coming down here and spending some time with us. And
we'll see you again when you make your decision.
Yeah, when that time comes, please come back.
I got you.
Come back down.
I will. I'll be down.
All right, sounds good. So that's going to do it for week 2. If you enjoyed this episode of West 4th and Goal, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back again next week with another episode. Don't forget to check out richlandsource.com/sports/football this Friday night after the games for our feature stories, photo galleries, and more than 90 regional high school football game summaries. Thanks for listening.